Well, here we are down on the allotment today. Weather is a bit better, it's a bit overcast, but it's dry and it's a little bit warmer, which is all we really need to get down on the allotment today. Now, I'm going to take you on a bit of an allotment tour, just take you on a journey across my allotment so that we can see what I need to do over the coming months. Now, first of all, this area just behind me, got a collection of trees, be it hazel over in the far corner, apple tree and cherry trees. All needs a bit of a tidy up, and the hazel tree will do a bit of a prune with at some point. We use those for hazel sticks for growing beans up and things, so that doesn't get wasted. But the cherry trees, what is a bit of a problem is several cherry trees have popped up in the ground. This is where birds have obviously been eating the cherries and they've dropped the seeds and more have popped up. They've got to come out. I'm going to dig those out, pop them into pots and see if we can use those in other places or give them away to friends and family. Basically, there's lots going on here. It's not a huge amount of work. I just need a dry day to get down here and do it all. Now, over on the beds, let me show you what's going on there. Right, so these are my 6 beds on this half of the plot. Now these 3 along this side here are going to be for potatoes, so they need to be ready for March the 17th. I did plant some field beans in these over winter, but these are the old ones, first ones to be planted. I've had a bit of a frost that has killed them off. Now that's not a huge problem for me. They might bounce back, we'll leave them and see what happens. But basically, it's just going to need a good hoe, let everything rot down in place, and then we can get our potatoes into this place ready. It's not going to be long really before I need to prepare this bed for potatoes as it is. The middle bed, I sowed some field beans again a little bit later, and they're very young and they haven't actually been attacked by the frost. So I think that's quite a noticeable difference. Again, all these 3 beds, they're going to be put into use pretty soon. They're just, at the moment, a bit of fallow time to try and recover. The 3 beds behind me, these are going to be our bean beds, so peas, French beans, runner beans, and anything in the legume family is going to be grown in these 3 beds. This one here, we used another green manure called Facilia, which is one of my favourite green manures. Does look like it's been hit a little by the frost, but I think it'll recover, and we'll leave that for a little bit longer to grow. The middle bed, I did sow some broad beans, but they appear to have been killed. Luckily, I've got some more broad beans at home, which are quite young, that we will then plant out down here. And then in the very top bed, I did do a couple of rows of peas, but again, they've been killed by the frost. This is very unusual for me here on the south coast, because we don't really get a hard frost like what we've had. So interesting times, to say the least, and this has made things a little bit tricky for me going into 2023 with what I would normally do. Now, I mentioned the greenhouses just now. We've got 2 greenhouses just over here that I want to talk to you about. So as you know, 2 greenhouses now. This one we got put up in the last few weeks. I've yet to put the glass into it. I've got a pile of glass here waiting to go in, but it's not all the glass. I'm trying to find somewhere that I can actually get the remaining glass at Facebook Marketplace or somewhere like that for not very much money. If I buy it, it can get quite expensive. I may have to buy it in the end. We're not sure yet. This one is actually going to be used for cucumbers this year once it's up and running. And I am also debating about using twin wall polycarbonate instead of glass. Jury's out on whether I'm going to do that or not. It might be cheaper, it might be, I don't know, it might be better, I'm not sure. I'm still debating that. Grandad's greenhouse, as I call it, the one down the very far end, that's fine, ain't no problems with that. We're just going to let that continue to do its thing. Tomatoes and chilies and that sort of thing will be growing in there this year. So yeah, not much more I need to say about that. Just in front of these I've got 2 small beds that I've been using as like thrown in compost beds, so that the materials rot down, and I used pumpkins and squashes last year. I'm probably going to do the same this year, get some squashes and pumpkins growing in these as everything rots down. Do need a bit of a tidy up. I'm also considering building a hotbed over the next couple of weeks, but I can't really find any manure, so I'm thinking of just using compostable material chopped up very thinly instead. So yeah, that's the greenhouses and this sort of area. The edges will still need a lot of TLC as well. That's not going to be a problem because we can just crack on with that. As I said, one dry day down on the allotment is all I need, and this bottom half will be tidied up. We do need to build new compost bins because they're starting to come apart as well, and I'm still debating what I'm going to be doing on that. So yeah, that's this half of the plot. We do have the second half of the plot. I want to take you on a bit of a tour as well. So this is the top plot, and this has been where I've done quite a bit of work over the last couple of months in trying to get everything built. Built these 3 beds out of wood just down here, which are fantastic actually. They are my brassica beds, so they're going to be put into use fairly soon as well. So what I've got to do is just lay some cardboard, get some compost down, add some lime, and these will then be ready to go. We have actually got some cabbage still growing in the top plot, but these are going to need to be put into use pretty soon. Added to that, behind me is where we are growing our alliums. So this one here, our garlic, which is growing well, still surviving, still even the elephant garlic is now starting to show itself. And that one there isn't in use at the moment. Still got some Brussels sprouts and some purple sprouted broccoli, so they're staying there because eventually they will come out and that will be in use for more onions or more garlic, probably onions actually. Then the top one, the hugelkultur bed, is where our onions are growing, which also seem to be doing pretty well over there. So yeah, everything is moving along in here quite happily. We have got this patch just over here, which I'm going to talk about now. So this patch here, it's 2 actual areas. The back area is my autumn raspberries, which I've got to prune those down, clear out the weeds, and that's ready to go. But of course we get runners popping up into the front bit. They've all got to come out, and that was my strawberry bed. But the weeds here, the couch grass particularly, is so difficult that the strawberries get strangled out. So again, what I'm probably going to do with that is just clear everything out. I've got strawberries in pots at home, so I might actually grow those in pots on top of this bed with a good layer of cardboard to try and suppress the weeds for the time being, just to try and make sure that the weeds don't come back if we do plant strawberries in here at a later date. Whether that happens or not is something I'm very much in the air about. What do you think? Would that be a good way to grow strawberries in this area if we can kill off all the couch grass? Now finally, top part of the plot is always been a problem. Come up here. Now this area at the very top of the allotment is always been another one of these areas that has been tricky. I inherited a lot of these plants, being the gooseberry bushes, the blackberry bushes, and so on, the currant bushes, and even rhubarb down here. But it's always been tricky. But what I did last year, and it worked really well, is I just laid cardboard down around the rhubarb, and that suppressed all the weeds. And in fact, when I lifted the cardboard up, I was surprised just how well there was very few weeds in there. So again, I've already started just throwing loads more cardboard down in order to suppress all the weeds. It just makes the job a little bit easier when something is just naturally doing the job for you, doesn't it? And that's pretty much what I'm going to be doing in this top half, just trying to get hold of the weeds, give myself less work to do, I guess, by letting the cardboard just suppress everything down, and then we can come back to this at a later date and see what happens. I have seen that a couple of years ago, one of my neighbours used the microfiber weed suppressant membrane, and that got shredded around my gooseberries. So I'm probably going to actually have to cut out those branches, because I've tried to remove those pieces of plastic and it's pretty difficult. So yeah, that is this top half of the plot, which my plans are quite easy for. Well, that has got my thinking of what I'm going to be doing over the next few weeks here on the allotment to get this allotment back up into the decent shape. This weather, if it holds out, it stays like this, I'm happy. It's if it's rainy, I'm not so happy. And the noise from this road is getting a little bit annoying as well, as no doubt you will hear when cars go past. But it's all part of the fun, isn't it? Hopefully the trees they've planted will grow and suppress some of that sound out at a later date. Anyway, I hope you will join me. This is obviously not all we're going to be doing. There's going to be lots more happening here, but these major jobs are what I want to get done over the next few weeks. And we're trying to do a monthly tour of the allotment so you can see just how everything is looking. Well guys, you take care. I'll see you again in the next one.